Deb's in the house. Hey, Deb. Nice to
Hi.
meet you. This is great.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, good to see you. I really enjoy what you've been putting out lately. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but seriously, it's been some
Thank
good
you.
stuff.
It really has.
To think about it.
It really has. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to just deal with someone in the chat that I'm going to get out. So, if you have an opportunity to introduce yourself, I really want you to do it. Okay, looks like they've left. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. Thank you for entering the rating room. Okay, good.
I did that.
Okay, thanks, James. Appreciate that. So hey, everybody, welcome to Airship 2.10. We are in double digits. It is out, you guys. What day is it? Is it Monday?
It's Monday.
Wow. I mean, really, it's like, what day is it these days? It's such a whirlwind of energies. And James has just come off alive, as we've all been kind of discussing when you were still airing, James. Just, I think it was Lauren that was just like, oh my gosh, that was a powerful live and a powerful drive. And Deb was even coming in with wanting to recount the levels of, from being eaten to not, to ascending to a place where maybe you understand why people are eaten. So that's kind of a fun topic that I think we were still, vibing with. Deb, you want to talk about that a bit more?
Oh, the levels of consciousness. The levels of consciousness. I hadn't equated it before, but it goes along with Ken Wilber and his levels of consciousness. And the other thing that I thought a long time ago, I read a book about levels of spiritual development. And it was basically, it was an alternative to AA for women who needed to reclaim their power instead of turning over their power. And it was wonderful. She had a big list. Unfortunately, it was more for women, but basically it's for anybody who has been oppressed by patriarchy. So that's all I got.
So women, so we're talking about Alcoholics Anonymous. Is AA stand for Alcoholics Anonymous? Am I right? I think that is what it stands for.
Yeah.
So you're anonymous in there. I didn't think about that before, that it's anonymous.
It is anonymous, but I want to tell you something. We sit in the same room looking at each other when we speak. So we just don't tell each other's last names.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Also, the meetings aren't recorded and distributed in any way. It's a sacred ceremony that you go in there to do. Yeah. Same with NA too, Narcotics Anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
And Cannibalism Anonymous, but probably you guys don't go to that one. It's that group's pretty rare. There's a joke, rare. Get it? Come on, James. Oh, God. Okay.
Wow. Okay. James. Oh, the cannibalism. It seems like it's been kind of just so much more apparent as we look at ourselves more from a zoomed out view and see just kind of what goes down. If you're paying attention to what's going on right now, there's a lot of just families eating families. I think there's some pretty tough camps going on right now. And I've been involved in those camps politically, and I was previously involved in politics. Very, very into it. I have to say, super into it, guys. Like, I'm intense. Think about me in politics. So, right. So, just to see how, I was kind of like unsensitive with my very conservative parents and like, how can you see? And then like, of course, the Rona, right? And it's like, that was like a big shaker up, or such a amazing, like, I like that you pointed out how powerful that movement was, as well as 9/11, James, with the building.
Yeah. In fact, once the corona started to die down, I pointed out that there's going to be a lot of cannibalism in different truth groups. And that happened. It happened here too, but it happened everywhere else faster. I swear it did. That I only saw it coming because it happened in all the other groups first, because they had weaker egos. I swear this is why. And it finally came to us, but I think it took almost like a year longer than it did in other spots, which is something I'm kind of impressed with. But once I saw it come, I started to realize that there was no compassionating with that energy. It's just here. And the same thing happens when you die. that as soon as a family member dies, we don't like to admit this, but typically a lot of the other family members come in and just devour what's ever left of them, whether it be through inheritance or property
Interesting.
or just anything. And it's kind of a gross process. It's actually really disgusting. But I want you to know that you can actually compassionate this too, because you're looking at the swarm of consciousness, the organization break apart but still remain alive, and that really it's an ode to how valuable this energy is. I swear. It's showing you how important and crucial the energy is, that your own family would eat it from you. It's that kind of a thing. And so to me, it's a good sign. It's a sign of self-worth in hiding. And if we didn't maybe have such a negativity about our own egos, I think that these kind of things wouldn't be able to even be prevalent anymore, because there'd just be more reverence. If there's more reverence for yourself, I hope you can understand that there would have to be more reverence for those around you. So it's death be not proud. It's pretty intense, because you look and see just how poor the behavior is that surrounds it.
Yeah.
Additionally, when you die, when we become deceased, when we enter the Anubis, uh, our body actually doesn't die. Our body turns into seraphim. It breaks down into microorganisms, micro serpents, seraphim, maggots, as some of us would call them, and that this is us, our consciousness, decentralized. And as our consciousness decentralized, you're just watching it. It's disgusting to us because we've associated so deeply into who we are. But ultimately, who we are is those worms. Those worms are, in fact, us. You were living worms right now. It's just it's a more complex organism, and so it's harder to see that, which is why I think it's so fascinating that when that process begins, it'll take maybe 7 days, maybe, for some of your skin to realize that it's dead. Even your fingernails and your hair will take even longer for that. And it's because the disassociation process is not really dying so much as it's just deconglomerating, so to speak. So it's a beautiful thing. Since there are no hands up, uh, um, I two people have been removed from the group. I don't feel that I owe an explanation, but if you guys want to ask me about why, I will tell you. The reason why I don't want to just offer it to you is because these people aren't here anymore, and we'd be talking about them. I also want to remind you of the rules. There are no rules. You need to be self-evident. If you cannot self-evidently figure out how to behave in here, then you will just go, and you'll go and you'll be, oh no, I'm not there anymore. And if you want to feel the vitriol of that, feel cheated, or feel that you didn't know the rules up front, that's okay too. I'm fine you feeling like you're cheated. But this is a weird thing that I'm doing. I've tried this airship dojo situation many different ways, and this is just what we're trying now. This could change at any point. The invisible bar is constantly moving. It's actually more based on the group than it is based on some presupposed notion of what I think is a requirement. But I'll tell you something. Uh, a few months ago, I cut someone, a really good friend of mine, and I didn't actually cut them. I said, "Hey, I need you to learn to listen. And in order to learn to listen, I want you to come to Airship and just not speak for a while." And I want you to be nervous about, am I listening well enough? I want you to be nervous about that. I think that's a great thing to be nervous about. And one of the people that I cut, there's no way in the world that guy was going to accept me telling him, I need you to come and just listen. It's just not going to be acceptable to that. And that's okay too. However, it is not against the rules to bring this up because there are no rules. We're going to do our delicate best to not talk about somebody, but at the same time, there's going to be times where we're going to have to talk about somebody, and that's why that's not really a rule either. There's no way I'm going to be able to concretely tell you, here's exactly how you need to behave, because this is a confederacy, as Pi reminded me, which I really appreciate that, Pi. We are the Iroquois Confederacy. Are we the only one? I don't know. Who the fuck cares? We are the Iroquois Confederacy, though, which means we are living in this same kind of paradigm. Some of you may find this paradigm very disruptive and may want to know why this happened and want to know more. And this is what I mean by, yeah, you can ask me, But I've been wondering all weekend, should I volunteer this information? Should I put it up front? And right now my gut's telling me no. Because honestly, I'm going to be looking for permission from you. I'm going to be looking for justification from you to do what I felt is right. And this is back asswards to me. If you guys do not understand that it hurts me directly to take someone that is voluntarily giving us fuel every month and cutting them, if you cannot see that I'm actually the one that is affected the most by that, then you're never, ever, ever going to be compassionating me in any other way at all. So many will have the idea, well, James does that because he just does it. It's like all it does is hurt me. All I do is call Renee late at night going, am I an evil person? What is the right thing to do? Because I have poor boundaries. I have some of the poorest boundaries. Porous. I love God, that's so beautiful. I have porous boundaries,
Porous. Get it?
poorest boundaries. Yeah. And that I have those because of the way I was raised. I was so desperate to be accepted. I couldn't afford to have boundaries. I finally gained enough calories where I did. And it's just been this torturous, awful experience trying to catch up. Even in the past with this, I've sometimes there for like a year, I let this guy literally type in the chat in front of everyone else, you're going to burn in hell, James. You're evil as fuck. And people are hearting what he said because they feel sorry for him. And at no point was I ever noticing that, well, why am I putting up with this? So it's a weakness in me, and that weakness in me is requiring me to try all different kinds of things. And this is the latest iteration, which is that why am I putting up with this? Why am I doing that? So happy to answer any questions. If some of you are afraid that if you bring up a topic, you will be kicked out. First of all, I'm not here to remove your fear. I'm here to help you witness your fear. So good for you. I don't want you to be safe here. I don't, but I do want you to know that if you're going to look at me as someone that is just doing this despite it hurting me and still having some weird nefarious other thing, I don't think you're ever going to be able to compassionate just how hard I've worked, how important it is that I create this space where each of us are good listeners first. We've discussed the Pythagorean circle many times. You land on the island, and for at least a year, you don't even talk. You're practicing the art of listening. This is a difficult skill. After you master the art of listening, you're able to move inside to the inner court. So what I will tell you is that if I do think that there's a problem with some of you listening, I will pull you aside and ask you, hey, can you please come back and not talk for a while? When I've done this, that's when the people have left. And I think that's the perfect litmus. I really do. It's just a perfect litmus. If that's what's keeping you here is your ability to speak, but not to listen, then this maybe isn't the right place. This sounds very hypocritical because I talk a lot, but guys, I'm a good fucking listener. People actually seek me out and say, hey, James, can you listen to me? And I'm like, yes, I'd love to do that, but it's going to be costly. And how do I do this? Because I compassionate the fuck out of people. I can't help it because of my appetite. It's not because I'm nice. It's not because I'm holy. It's because I have a conscious appetite to drink the room. And when you're there, I'm going to be drinking your emotions. Unless you're juggling or doing some weird, cool trick that I don't need to like see you in any other way, I'm just going to have to drink your feelings. And you guys feel that sometimes. And frankly, that's why you come back. You're like, oh my God, this guy's drinking my feelings. This is good. So that's what I want to breed here. That's the purpose. If you want to look at what the purpose is here, it is not a collection of talkers. It's a collection of witness. This is a witness engine. It's an island of witness. And to me, we have enough talkers in the world. We don't have enough witnessers. So I want to hone that witness skill. I think that talking is important. I think that you practicing speaking is just as crucial. So please don't hear that wrong. I want to hear you speak. I want to put you on the spot to where you have more witness than you're used to sometimes. I believe in all those things being constructive too. I'm just saying that if you do not have the basic prerequisites for this course, i.e., listening 101, there's really no reason for you to be here. So I hope that helps. This is part of the reason why the two recently were removed. It's actually much more complicated than that. It actually goes back a few years with one of them. And because those two are a couple, it makes it even more complicated, which is why I'd rather not even explain it, but I will explain it. But I need you to make sure that you're not hearing rules from that because it was strictly those things were chosen because of the situation, who they are. I'm going to be doing that with you for who you are. This is going to seem very unfair, What I mean is that some of you I've got a super high bar for, and others of you I have a very low bar for, and I still want both of you in the room. Do you understand? I just want to see progress. I want to see natural growth. I'm never going to be able to put this in a tenet or a bill of rights or a set of laws. You have no rights. It was a myth anyway. I don't know why you thought that you had rights out in the world. I don't think most of you do. So you come in, it could happen at any point in time. It should keep you on your toes. It should be a fun exercise. If this is too caloric, I understand. It's a good time to go. But all of this is on the air because I want us to pollinate the world with our own butt cracks. I want to show the world how to see your own butt crack in a room full of people and hold your own. In my opinion, this would be the greatest thing that would spur consciousness on. So this is one of my main tenets of what Airship is about. Another is to blow each other's minds just by coming together and exploring new stuff. And there's other goals that I'm not even telling you about because I don't even know them right now. They're not consciously aware. I have my own demons. I am occupied my own reef with all kinds of spirits. Some of them may have bad names, and so you should be aware of that too. But I just wanted to say all those things, and we can talk about this more if we want. But we also have some hands up, thank goodness. So I'll turn it back over to Renee.
We sure do have some hands up, and I just wanted to tap into the Iroquois Confederacy connection that Pi made so eloquently as you spoke in our last Airship Pi. Oh my gosh, I just really love hearing from someone who's been here the whole time. The encompassing of what you saw was really beautiful. But with the Iroquois Confederacy, it basically means that you're going to be here and you're going to basically, we're going to know who you are. Like if we're going to be in this tent, I'm going to want to know who everybody is and who. I don't need to know that much, but I at least need to see you, get a little bit of your story. But if you can't be here with your self-help, with your head held high, and you can't claim your own butt crack, then it's kind of hard to like, you have to own it. You have to own who you are here. If you don't own who you are here, why should we own you? So that's what I'm saying. It's a flip, or it's not even a flip. It's more of like we are more focused in our intention. So I really love this, and I thank you for all being here. So we do have someone here named Tim, and that's great. We had someone here named Jens who was here last time, and I gave them the opportunity to introduce themselves, and they did not. So I think if you come through on the Airship and we don't know you, maybe you can go on for one flight and check it out. But the next time I see your name, you're going to have to, I would like you to introduce yourself. So I want you to be here, but I need you to stand up and be counted. Okay, thank you so much. We have
Real
Brad.
quick, I just want to say real quick, what you just heard is all Renee. I did not tell Renee, hey, here's how you should do that. She literally is just kind of owning the floor. And I don't know what, in fact, some of the things she said, I'm like, wait, you're kicking out Jens. Why are you doing that? And I trust Renee as mod. And if the day comes that I don't trust her, then that'll happen. And this is called autonomy and sovereignty. Do you understand? I become vulnerable too by making her mod, and I want to see what she does. And if I trust enough, if I don't micromanage, even when she does something that maybe freaks me out, I have enough calories where I can say, let's see what happens. Let's see where this goes. Just wanted to say that real quick, Renee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm making this stuff I'm creating as I go. So that's kind of what Aquarius is about. You create, you feel the flow of the energy, and you add your amount to that to build more currency with our flight. Okay, Brad, go right ahead.
Yeah, that's the work with the yes and learning the dance of the room that you're in, and I think that's just it out of respect for the people in the room, and in the Iroquois Confederacy, what everyone is here for. If there's sort of a group notion, in this case, talking about the anonymity inside the Zoom, I mean, I think it's fair to say that that's a fair thing to ask, that if you're going to come sit in the room, to at least speak up and say hello. And especially Anon, when we were discussing in the comments, when you kind of are going on the back end saying like there's a reason the energy in the room is such that you feel too scared to speak up, or in a way saying that it's too stifling to speak up, then, and as you say, you communicate in the chat all the time, that's great. And I think that's part of what the discussion between the Zoom and the chat with the air has been, is the distinction when on the Zoom call and we're talking in a room as best we can and such. If you don't want to even speak up and own what you're saying in the comments on Patreon, then I think it's a valid question to ask. Why is it that you want to sit in the room and be seen on Zoom? you know, because we can all watch this on secondhand. We can all chat in the comments. So I just think that's a fair point, fair question to ask. And I'll also add, just in terms of the cannibalism thing, just in terms of wanting to see the world as evil, and it's the most natural thing when we're hurt. But most of that, I think, comes from our unwillingness to understand. Because when you speak about families, James, at funerals, and the cannibalism comes out, it's not wanting to own our own cannibalism that we already have. And so most of that is trying to project it. Well, it's because the world's evil. That way I don't have to own my cannibal. Where part of the way up the hermetic ladder, I think you do have to kind of get to that point knowing, okay, yes, I am a cannibal, whether I, want to think of myself in that way or not. And it's bringing these things into our awareness that is part of the process of moving up the ladder. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Brad. I always really enjoy your commentary. It's very leveling. I like your balance with that. All right, Pi, good to see you. Go right ahead.
Well, hello everyone again. Well, there could be a lot of things that we talked about that we could talk about. But I don't know. Why don't we just for interest just focus on Anon 347, since that was the only person that responded to my comment. And, I'll just respond to the thing that I personally asked for. So I don't know. I just thought would you want to say something? I don't know. I didn't get really a lot from your response, and I don't know. Is there some way that you could associate yourself with us that would be as satisfying as just the general showing of the face? Or is there some I'm open to whatever, since you're the only one, besides other people that may have come forward that didn't say anything but maybe came here. I just thought I'd ask, and I'd rather just do that than talk about anything else. And we can move on if that's not a possibility. But I just thought I'd say that.
All right, appreciate that, Pi. Here you go. Here you go right ahead. You were muted. All right, you're unmuted now, but then you were muted again, Anon. We shall wait. Maybe you're having technical difficulty. Oh, I heard you.
Oh, it says my microphone is muted.
There you go. You're good. No, we can hear you now. Now it's good. Oh.
There you go. Now you're unmuted. Well, it just got muted again. Unmuted now.
Hello, test.
Go.
Great.
Weird. Pi, what is the question? Because near as I can tell, the conversation is just revolving around the larger concept of anonymous versus non-anonymous. So what's the question that you're asking?
I guess I'm just referring to my posted comment in the Patreon, and just generally exploring the overall idea of being anonymous or not anonymous, and how it refers to witness, and maybe in the context of the Iroquois Federation type of a context. I'd just like to hear more, and I wasn't trying to make any rules, and I apologize for any disruption. I was just trying to address something that you know, and not do it in a public way. But I was just trying to bring something to people's attention, and see if they wanted to talk about it, and hoping that was okay. I apologize, James, for disrupting, and I don't mean to be one of those people that causes one of these.
I I I think Pi's just sort of inviting you if you did have something to say, Richard. And I mean, Anon, and you don't even need to say anything. But I'm only stepping in because I don't want us to talk about a post on Patreon because most people haven't seen it, and a lot of more posts have happened since then, just in our own lives, like just since Friday. And so I just want everyone to be in the same conversation, even if there is one. So I'm actually speaking just to say, really, really broad topic that Pi brought up. It did cause a lot of interesting things to occur. Things are actually different now because of it. So way to go, Pi. I think it's very transmutative of you. And I think that's really all you can really ask of Anon is that if he did have something to say, you're just sort of inviting him to that. But please correct me if not. I just want anyone else who's listening to not feel that they are in the dark about what the subject matter is, even if there is one. So,
Okay, well, I'll expand upon what I think it is. I think it sort of started with the comment that I made inside the Airship after Pi sort of offhandedly dismissed something that was said by the person who shall not be named anymore. And I left the room because, well, frankly, I was quite busy, and to me, it didn't seem like it was going to be. I wasn't going to be able to split my attention effectively, and that sort of started this. At least that seemed to be the inflection point as to when this sort of started. I didn't see anybody else that was anonymous in the room. It was only me. I think it was more of a specific reference to the exact name that I chose to represent myself, which really has nothing to do with Airship, James True, or anything in this sort of world. It has much more to do with de-Googling. I wasn't anonymous previous to that. My name was out. My face was out. I've been mod on the YouTube channel for several years and been following the work for a while. So it seemed odd to me that I still appeared anonymous, because even when I changed my name, lost the wrench as a function of changing the name, James recognized who I was immediately. Had been speaking and modding in the channel immediately, and there wasn't much change as far as I had seen. But then the sort of name change seemed to be all by itself, took on its own thing. It was even like I was at 369, and so I don't feel like I'm anonymous in the space. I haven't been in very many airships, and that's, you know, frankly, just because I was getting enough out of the show, and I'm a very busy person, so it was not something I was participating in. I started to come back, and basically made a single comment and watched an explosion take place afterward, and it was sort of like, I don't participate in group settings because if I get on a roll, I tend to do a lot of damage with the people around me. Usually I like to think it's for their own personal growth. Eventually they come around to it, but in the short term, it's very disruptive. If I provide a full witness to the people that I see. So I hope that you can associate whatever you require, Pi, in order to feel comfortable that I'm not actually anonymous in the space. But as I mentioned in the comments multiple times, the reason I don't show my face is because these will be posted on the internet. So I've been in IT for a very long time. I understand the internet, social media, and what is possible in depth. And I'm not comfortable with being posted on YouTube. So that's the reason that I'm anonymous in this space. So I'll leave it at that. And I have no idea if I'm unmuted or muted.
You are no, we heard it all, Richard. Yeah. I mean,
I can't turn it off. It
be
still
all
says
right?
unmuted on my end.
Yeah,
so
I can
don't.
mute it for you if you want. I mean, I don't mean
Would
that
it
rude,
be,
Anon, but I just muted you just real quick. Sorry. Anon, I just muted you, but just because it felt like you were like you maybe wanted to mute, but you weren't sure because of some technical issues right now. Go ahead, Pi.
Well, I was just trying to offer a general invitation, like you said. But I would like to, I mean, I appreciate what you said, Anon, and I do, appreciate hearing your voice. That's one thing. I was just trying to leave it open. I'm not trying to say anything, make any rules. I would like to correct a couple things, though, or at least one thing. Even though it might not have been correct because everybody's not familiar with it, I was referring to the patron response, your one-word response of no to my particular appeal. As far as your reference to my peach cobbler comment, and I saw your comment that he just gave me the answer to the universe or something like that, and you called it peach cobbler. So I saw that, my joke didn't go very well, and I didn't mean it that way, and maybe I don't even know myself how I meant it, because I was kind of latching on to James' peach cobbler thing, and somehow it seemed to make sense. And I saw that you took it like I got the impression that you took it in a bad way. But I wasn't initially in this airship when I first said I wasn't referring to that at all. That was, although I did see it and I realized it didn't go over well, and I'm sorry maybe that I said that. I probably didn't need to say it. And it doesn't really have anything, hopefully, to do with the other stuff. I don't know what to say. That's just that's my best response I can come up with. I don't I just wanted a general invitation to like say something if you wanted. I'm not trying to force anybody into coming out of anonymity or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to make a rule or force anything. I don't even know that was going to necessarily become an issue in this way.
I'm gonna jump in here. There's actually no issue right now. Pi, if you have a specific issue, you should bring it up instead of asking Richard to bring up an issue, because that's not going to happen. If he has an issue, he'll bring it up. I think it's tricky because you guys can go by whatever moniker you want. When you change monikers, I think that it might be appropriate to come on Airship and say, I'm changing monikers, I'm this now. That if you didn't, because you don't have to, it could be that you're going to get a little bit of this for it, right? And it could be maybe that's not fair, but life isn't fair, right? So people are going to have that. So
once again, James, I'm just going to have to cut in here and say that he did choose to not address his response to my thing, which is what I was talking about, and talked about the peach cobbler comment. And so I felt like I had to address it because it seems like it's a misunderstanding. And so
okay, well, I'm going to jump in too, because no one else is listening to the chat right now. This is a Friday old chat. None of us are here. If you want to call them out, you need to go back to the chat room and go back to that thread, because that's where that stuff is. It's not here.
Yeah.
If you want to bring images here so we can look at it, then it will become an issue. But honestly,
I agree. But he brought it up. He didn't say peach cobbler, but he brought it up. So I was just responding to it. He was saying that, if you recall, he was saying that I was responding to something he said in that chat, and I'm not. I'm responding to his one-word answer of no
in the chat.
Patreon.
That
No,
one
not
word
that.
was
He was talking about the airship chat. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but
okay. Well, I think
okay.
when I say chat, I literally mean a conversation that's not here. So it could be YouTube chat, it could be Zoom chat, it could be patron chat. I don't even know why we're trying to distinguish them. Like, well, this chat would be okay to talk about, but this one wouldn't. What we're doing is we're requiring everyone to hypothetically build a chat engine that's not here right now in the room. That's all I'm saying. So if there is something, there's a nugget, I think it's just required that you bring the nugget here, which means you need to explain, here's a nugget that I have. It's going to be really hard to say, hey, that peach cobbler comment. No one's going to know what you mean. No one's invested that much time into it. So you have to rebuild that story. We can do that, but you're going to have to rebuild the story. Otherwise, you two are having a private conversation in front of us, and it's difficult to follow, is what I mean.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, did I figure it out?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're unmuted.
Yes, I totally understand. It is basically a private conversation. The reason you only got a one-word answer was me exercising my sovereignty to give a one-word answer. You made a request, the answer was no. That was it.
All right. All right, you guys can, sounds like this is between you two in the chat, or, I think we could just move on. And Deb, I believe your hand was up next. How are you? Go ahead and join the conversation.
Deb, I muted you. So I need you to unmute, please, and start over so we can hear you. Guys, I'll unmute you
Hi.
sometimes if you don't have the floor, I'll typically unmute people just to keep the sound clear.
I wanted to ask a question about vocabulary. So when you were speaking before, you made a comment. So it's about what do we call a part of a person, and it's you said something. I knew that person wouldn't accept that from me. That's what I would have called ego. But what are we calling it here?
A great freaking awesome question. I personally, my outlook on that is a lack of calories.
Lack of calories.
Yes. So if you have enough extra surplus, then when someone says, "Hey, your butt crack is showing," you can afford to look. If you don't have enough calories, you're going to deny that that's happening, or you're going to obfuscate your butt crack's showing, or you're going to say my butt crack's not showing. That was permanently put there on purpose, and that these are what I think are telltale signs of a lack of calories. To be able to afford the luxury of being corrected by someone, that's an expensive luxury, and it requires a lot of extra. You have to eat a lot of people. To gain the calories to be able to say things like that is just how I look at it, Deb.
Okay.
Thank you, Deb. Great question. Go ahead, Yesenia.
Oh, I believe Lori was first.
It says
Okay.
Lori
Well,
first, just to be. It does say Lori
Okay,
first.
okay. I thought Yesenia's up for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had my hand up and then I put it down and then I put it back up. So that's probably what happened. I do have a question on, and I really heard and witnessed Anon's wanting to be anonymous with YouTube. And it brought up like this feeling of, I don't want to expose and be transparent in this world that could be turned against me. Like, I can be this, a prey to the predator or something. And so the question is like, for all these people that have been doing this, like James, you've been doing this and you expose a lot of personal stuff. And it really inspires me. It's like almost like I feel like you've set yourself free. And that's what, I want to do for myself, is to set myself free. And the second question I had was, when Pi was talking about not being the one with reading all the books and everything, but he was using everyone else's knowledge and kind of, I don't know if is it a form of telepathy? Because I know that I'm feeling certain things to, I'm getting like my central nervous system feels certain things when certain people are talking. And now that we had another upgrade in the airship, I was feeling something the last time that intellectual stuff started happening. I just kind of like started feeling all of this stuff. And then I was like, okay, so I'm kind of like trying to get to the core of it. How do we get to this new level, not being anonymous? And I see why you'd want to be anonymous, and that's where I'm trying to not be anonymous. I'm trying to shine my light, and not be dimming it just because because it's on YouTube or something. So anyhow, that's my question.
I want to address that if I can, and there's more meat here. Don't worry, guys. If anyone else, because I think another thing that people might forget is it's actually only hard to show yourself after you love yourself first. So many times people may come in and they do just show everything right away, and that's not necessarily brave. It's more of like a desperate attempt to show your belly to the rest of the pack to be accepted. And so this is why there's no rules. This is why it's all self-evident, which is why I think that it might be constructive to watch and poke at, because honestly, I think we are poking the anonymous in the room right now with a stick. And I think it's vitriolic, constructive, and educational. And it's giving me a chance to say this. Let's not forget that if someone does come in and just bears it all, that doesn't necessarily mean this is the correct posture. Some people could be here actually to learn that boundary first. And so when they learn that boundary first, then they might be ready to begin to practice showing themselves. Earlier, when I started to live stream, I think that's who I was. I was just showing it all because I didn't love myself enough to even mask that. And so you end up with Milker Nation just like making like 50,000 view videos of me where he's cut out sections where I've been crying and placed them in with Owen Benjamin. And it's been one of the most ridiculing things I've ever seen. And I'm watching myself being broadcast and edited in that way. And here's the thing. I know Lori already gets that, but that's my crucifixion. And if only if I had enough calories to do that, which is I'm gonna tell you this, I think it was wrong that I did that, but I think I had enough calories to let that wrongness become vitriol and make me fucking powerful. It turned me into Lucifer is what it did. It allowed me to be reborn in the ridicule of someone that I had no respect for. It made it worse. It was the Romans poking me with the spear and the vinegar on the tongue and all the stuff. And as I'm up there between Dismas and Gispas, just going, fuck, the whole time I know I brought myself here. I fucking put myself here. And everywhere I asked for help, no one could help because people are like, dude, why'd you put yourself up there? I don't think that everyone, though, has the strength to be crucified like that. I think most don't. So it's a delicate balance because we don't want people coming through the gauntlet that lack the strength, the vitality, the courage to make it through that gauntlet. And so I think that I don't know the right answer. You're not even asking a question, I think, Lori. I think you're just opening up this beautiful view of it. And so it should be self-evident in the wrong ways and in the right ways. The vitriol is either going to be constructive or it's not. And that's really why we're here. We're here to watch each other's posture. It turned out that bleeding of me before I had a shell turned out to be constructive, not just for me, but for Lori too. So right now, Lori's coming back to the point where I was crucified and when I was at my loneliest, and she's literally looking at me going, "Hey, you're doing great up there." And I'm just like, "Wait, great? I didn't know that was possible." And so it's backwardsly, quantumly giving me prana because the hard shit that I went through 3 years now is now completely, completely changed into a transmutive state for someone, quite frankly, that's powerful as fuck, Lori. So it's like I get props from that sacrifice I made, but only because, Deb, only because I had enough calories to do it. Do you understand? That's really the only reason why. It's not about courage, it's about calories. Do you have enough of those kinds of calories to where you can pull off something like this? It's an evil Knievel stunt, right? The only time Evil Knievel's jumps are good is when he lands. Otherwise, he's a maniac. He's endangering children. He's creating a horrible society, and we have to put a stop to this. It's only when he makes it that we're like, this is cool as fuck.
Thanks, James. I appreciate that. I've been posting stuff for about the last 5 years, and the first time I did, it was really a sense of like, I just got something to say, and I'm going to put a name to a face. I'm going to claim my name. This is me, and I've just kept going. Have I left a lot of people befuddled? Oh yeah, for sure. Have I taken on a lot of people hating me or pointing at me? Oh yeah, sure. But that's what I want, because to be authentically me, I want to bring it. But I also have a Mercury in Aquarius. So it is like, this is kind of how I represent myself. So I know we don't have all the same placements. So I'm not saying mine is the right way. It is, but it is my way. And I'm going the distance. You know what I mean? So I'm bringing me, and I think I did. I think my peephole deserves that. All right, Yesenia, go ahead.
Wow, that makes sense. My Mercury, I'm a Leo and my Mercury's in Leo, so I'm always like, hey. People refer to me as like a Kool-Aid man sometimes, so it just makes sense. Um, it's funny because the whole anonymity thing does tie into cannibalism, and just this whole weekend after the airship, I just felt like I walked through a portal. Like I felt like a completely like different person. Just even the way like just it's like a radio dial. Like the frequency got clear. It was perfect. If that's a thing. And I guess I'm going to introduce the article I posted on Substack, which going to what like Renee said, it was really hard for me. Like I started posting any of my writing just this year because I'm in the middle of writing a book and I'm just shy, like to just have like a social media representation. I've always been in the shadows, so I finally want to come to the light and just, show, I do want to show my belly, and I have gotten um hate and ridicule for it already. Like there's usernames that have my name, and before my name there's like a slur, like people that I don't even know are already ridiculing me, and I'm not even as big. So it's just it's everywhere, and that's why I wrote the energetic cannibalism. I wrote that in a very like, I want to say productive anger, if that's oxymoron I can use. I was angry and I wanted to transmute it. I resonated with your cannibalism allegory when you streamed with Rachel, I believe, on the tribal law and egoic cannibalism. Like right when you said that when people view you as free, you're dangerous. So they want to eliminate you. And I'm kind of going through that as like a new supervisor at work. Like I already show up with like a posture. Everyone's like, oh, look at that. Let's ridicule it. So I'm kind of undergoing that. And it's bringing up just even my past. Like when you brought up like family cannibalism, like my father thought of me as like a glorified 401k. Like he wanted me to be a doctor, and it's been a battle. Like we don't talk because I didn't go to med school, so that's kind of why that happened. And I'm just gonna stop it right there.
Well, I'm sorry, Renee. I've read this article. I put it in chat just now. It's called Energetic Cannibalism. I highly recommend you read it. I'm not going to talk about the article because you haven't read it, and it'll turn the same thing in where we're having a conversation about something that's not in the room, but it really is a good read. And it basically kind of mirrors certain things that I've seen too in my life, which is when you start to see the energetic cannibalism around you, your first reaction is, oh my God, this world's evil. I describe it as if you've ever been in a lake and fish come up and they start to bite your shins. It's such a beautiful feeling. You're watching these fish, they're cute and they're kissing you. This is what you tell yourself, oh, they're kissing me. Look at, they love me. They're kissing me. And they are. It looks like it. They're taking their lips and they're going up to your shins and they're going smack. and smack and smack. And you're like, wow, they really love me. They keep kissing me. This is great. And they're going smack and smack. And if you stayed there long enough, you'd be a lot shorter. You'd be as tall as Yesenia. You'd start to notice that, wait a minute, why am I losing height? I thought this is helping me. People are telling me they love me, but I'm losing skin. And the reason why you're losing skin is because they love you. They're not lying. They love you. You have energy that tastes good to them, and they want to eat it. They want to put your magic in their belly because this is how the magician gains skills. You eat the deer to develop Prometheus. You develop a frontal lobe because you chase down a deer and you go, oh, I love you so much. Let me put you in my belly. And you do. Now you have more calories. Now you create all these other things that are happening. And here's the beauty of it. If you do not think that you are worthy of self-worth, you will start to think that the cannibalism is evil. And you will tell yourself, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen to me. It proves that the world is evil. And therefore, I get to go back into my hobbit hole and say, fuck everybody. I'm not going to show any of my skin because cannibalism is there. And that's an excuse, a beautiful excuse, that you told yourself to shrink down. And when you shrink down enough, the fish are like, you're kind of gross. I don't want to eat you anymore. You're covering your own skin in your own excrement, right? You're talking shit about yourself. You're talking shit about yourself because you want the fish to stop kissing you. And then they stop kissing, and then you start to miss it, and then you start to cannibalize yourself again. And this is literally every single person that's ever existed except for like 5 people. Like, this is every single relationship you will ever see, especially in America. The only people that aren't doing this right away is going to be a beyonder. They're born into this different pool where they just know, dude, you're a different kind of fish. We have to develop this ourselves, and we get glimpses of it. And when we see glimpses of it, we get scared, and we start to play for the very first time. We start to dance with our own self-worth. And we do this through self-talk. We do this through having conversations with why me, poor me, I'm a victim, and that all these are ways of just defending yourself. I don't mind if you guys play victim sometimes. I think it's a creative, calligraphic act on the mat that allows you to protect yourself. Many in the past have heard me speak harshly about victimhood as if you're not supposed to do it. But I'm telling you that the reason why I speak harshly about it is because it's just so ubiquitous in society. It's just the very first thing that people do, and they build a whole psyche around it. So I have no choice but to chisel at it with ridicule. But there's something really valuable there. And it's the only clutch that you would have, that you would start to come into grips with your own self-worth. And many of us, when I worked in the wilderness camp, Yesenia, my thighs down to my ankles was just one giant mosquito bite. Just throttled. Every single inch was just mosquito bite, mosquito bite, mosquito. You could not see my skin anywhere. There are still scars on my legs today for the year I spent living in the woods with kids that are, quite frankly, sort of Netanyahu level cannibals. Like they've grown up in their own personal hell of Israel, but here in America, in some of the shittiest families you can imagine. And here's me, Mr. Hey, I ain't got no boundaries at all. And it was a sacrificial fire, which is honestly why I learned so much. I still have scars from that day. I still have wounds that I carry around going, man, I wish I would have been taking care of myself more, which is what I told at the beginning when we started talking about this topic, about how it's not necessarily even the best thing to be all out, like, look at me now. It's going to depend on what you're trying to do and what your calligraphy is. And when you start to notice, if you were to read Yesenia's piece and you were start to notice, holy shit, I'm being cannibalized all around, I swear to you, what's really happening is you're starting to stand up for yourself, and you're starting to see that you have self-worth. And I need you to not stop. If you can afford it, don't stop right now. Don't turn this into the world is evil. Turn this into, why are people eating me? Oh, because I'm good. I taste fucking good. I taste better than anything else. These people are going out of their way to come over to my house to eat me. It's the same way people will come over to me and hit me in the shins with a stick. Do you know why they do that? Because they trust that I would be the last person that would hold them accountable for that. Or they trust that if I did hold them for accountable, they would still live after I spanked them. That they know underneath the sequoia that is James True, you heard me, that underneath that sequoia, this is the safest place where I can have a tantrum, where I can exercise my poor hyena qualities because this is the shade of the tree where I'm safe to do it. And they're expecting me, whether they know it or not, they're expecting me to find a way to help them alchemize this situation purely from my own selfish needs, purely from my own sense of, hey, I don't put up with that. And I think a lot of us have an ignorance about how intelligent we are, about how we'll say things to our daughter, for example, that we maybe regret as, oh, I shouldn't have said that, but actually it was exactly, perfectly the right thing to say at the right time. But maybe you're questioning if you have the calories to alchemize what's about to happen. And when we don't have this, we start to backtrack and we're like, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. And I just described to you every single person that's ever existed in the world, except for maybe 5 people. This is how advanced of a skill it is. When I told you earlier that it took about a year for our own group to start to cannibalize itself while all the others were falling, I swear to you, it's because Deb asked the question about ego and she got the answer that I gave you. This is why. This is the only reason why. It is your posture when it comes to these words. It is your posture when it comes to these understandings that allows you to lose electrons from your antenna or collect more from your antenna. It is purely about approach. It is purely about these crucial words that these aren't all the words, but ego, pride, reputation, arrogance, as Yesenia just brought up. I would love it if that was to come up. But all these words give you this hermetic look into what's really happening, but only if you can afford it calorically. And if you can't, so the fuck what? I am not here to watch you behave perfectly. You're going to bore the shit out of me, and I'm going to start pulling weird shit out of the dumpster and eating it just to stay awake. I need this drama because it satisfies my limbic appetite to watch you humiliate the fuck out of yourself and still want to get up. The purpose of this exercise of being here is to try and lift with calories that maybe you have and maybe you don't. You just don't know until you try. So that's the purpose of this place. It is not to be perfect. It is not to show that this is absolutely the way. It truly is to show, hey, look at what an ass I made out of myself yesterday, and look at what I've learned today as a result. To me, this is what's inspiring. This is what inspired Lori when she saw me do it. It wasn't courage. It wasn't bravery. It was, look at what he did with that. I didn't know you could do that. How is that possible? And when she asked me, I'm like, I don't fucking know. Because it's not a technique, it's a caloric load. I'm just finding the caloric load to pull more amps to create a capacitor of lying to myself. I create a capacitor of I think I can, or I think I can't. And this capacitor we build up, we create a bubble, a weird ass fucking circuit that connects to all kinds of weird shit that aren't even in the room. We have to bring up stuff that has nothing to do with us, nothing to do with anything else. We don't even know why. And it's because we need this little valuable little coin, this little token. And if we can go over here and talk about Wu Wei or Wu Wei and have an argument about how it's pronounced, or if I can insult Buddhism and have someone insult me back, I'm doing that because secretly I need this little prana token, or I need to leave this prana token. I don't know what I'm doing. It's the only way to do this right. Is you do not know what you're doing. You have to trust yourself to show your ass crack on the mat and to just know it's okay. It's not only okay, this shit can be fun if you're in the right mode. I didn't say it's going to be fun all the time, but it will be fun post. I am laughing about Milker Nation now. I am laughing about all the people that hate me that get to go watch Milker Nation and then ridicule me and send me clips of that and say, see what an ass you are. I can only laugh about that now. I can only laugh that I was called Luciferian now. It took 3.5 years for me to develop that skill. This is why you watch, not because I perfected it. It's because you're like, look at this fool trying to pull this off. That's entertaining. It's entertaining because it's authentic. It's entertaining because there's not a facade, and you end up rooting for the downtrodden because you just see how hard they're trying, because you want to learn from that too. And you do. We learn from each other watching the way we navigate, even if it's horrible, which is why I want you to consider your failures to be teaching devices for someone else. This is the gift you give to the world if you're willing to admit that you had an ass crack. So it's very, very, very important.
Yeah, I totally agree with you know, the moo, how cows moo at each other. There's like moo, but they would just go move, move, and I'm like, no, let's just moo here. We're just gonna chew on your cut. And you know, like, you know, as I say, you know, Hathor is a very as they are, Hathor is a very beloved symbol that does embody a lot of support and everything we kind of need, as well as the nipple. If we just need to suck on it a little bit longer, you know, we just have to grow stronger and maybe just you know, start walking on our own 2 feet. Okay, Yasin, you go right ahead.
Well, related to your live stream, I just it helped me because I could see it. What came to mind was Pac-Man. So if I cannibalize, then I grab this big um piece, and then I grow big enough to be able to eat the blobs. So that's what I'm learning. I've also learned to tone down the Kool-Aid man and like just be silent and listen to my environment instead of just coming in, you know, kicking doors open and ready to throat punch people. Like maybe I should just tone it down and learn to quiet within. And it's been a journey. It's been like a year, and I finally landed this position, and I could see myself learning as I go and also getting thrown out off the mat because I literally walked in showing my butt crack because it's all new to me, and just even walking in with the respect of like, okay, you have this position now, which honestly, from like, you know, the whole truth movement perspective that I'm still kind of like pruning in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is systematic and blah blah, you know, that chatter. So I'm just learning that I'm enjoying the show. I have to do what I have to do to, you know, continue to unravel. And here is where I am, and I'm here for a reason. So let me play it out. And with, you know, I feel like even today at the dog park, like I just feel all the intensity of people around me, and that's why I write that piece. I wrote that piece because I needed to like let it out. Um, and it's just sometimes like for instance, like finally I don't shake when I speak on the airship. Like that was so hard. Like the last 3 weeks. So I'm just learning, and it's fun. And I'm writing another piece related to energetic cannibalism, where you know the Quran, or it's like chords. It's like chords, so to speak. Like, and you know, I've practiced like a cord cutting you know, ritual, and I could see how that has to do with, you know, burning the cannibal, so to speak.
Well,
Um,
I'm gonna challenge you even more. Did you know that I cannibalize you, Yesenia? You probably didn't know that. I'm a very polite eater, but I see a new spirit coming in, and I'm like, oh my God, look at this. She's like, she's hearing what I'm saying. I must be fucking wise. I must have things to say. I must be worthy of more calories. And I eat your precious witness, and I fucking love it. It gives me more calories. It allows me to grow. And I know you enjoy it. You know how I know you enjoy it? Because I know how to cannibalize properly. I know how to take just enough. I know how to take just enough so you'll come back and I'll take more and I'll take more. I know how to do that because I know what you want, and I'm creating a symbiotic, parasitic, yes, symbiotic, parasitic relationship with you. This is what we do to everybody. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter. Renee and I had a wonderful dinner party at a house of people that you might be able to argue are just like way up higher maybe on a food chain kind of a thing. It doesn't change. It doesn't change because we're supposed to eat each other. What we trouble with is our self-worth. Do I deserve to eat somebody? Do I deserve that kind of substance? Do I really get the organic tabernacle? The tabernacle means the best cut of the sacrifice, the best piece of meat. Just as the eagle warrior brings home his captive, the right I didn't have time in the show today, but the right thigh is the most important part. The trunk and the right thigh are not separated because the ass and the hips are the most juiciest part of the human being. The testicles are a delicacy. I'm not making this up. This is just from the codex. I've never tried this before, but I'm just telling you this is what I've heard. And that because of this prized part, they're able to distribute who gets that. And the only thing that throws us off about this, check it out. The only thing that I think throws us off about this society is thinking everyone's a slave and it's wrong. And that we think it's wrong because everyone's a slave and they're being fooled. But if you give every single person autonomy, if you trust nature completely, you're looking at a system that keeps repeating itself no matter where you go, no matter what country you go to. People are repeating this cannibalistic ritual. It's happening over and over again. Please consider the vegetarian. The vegetarian is telling you that you should be a vegetarian because it's cruel to eat animals. First of all, there's nothing wrong with this argument, but I want you to look at the energy that could be underneath it. I would say most of the time is underneath it. The energy underneath it is, I am not worthy of that kind of calories. I don't deserve that kind of protein. I'm not in the realm where I deserve that. I would rather deteriorate myself and remove the constellations from my mind that lit up 1,000 years ago that told me how good this deer tasted in my teeth. That they're trying to kill that. And it's nothing wrong with it. But if they can atrophy those constellations, then they no longer long for them. And if they no longer long for them, maybe they can go back to being a moo. Maybe they can return to the stables, go back to the fields, and have that experience where they become a beast of burden again. Guys, dogs have a really good life. They have a fucking great life. It is good to be a dog. There's some problems, sure, but on the most part, holy shit. They can get away with just about anything. They can look at anybody they want naked. They can barge in. They have zero boundaries when it comes to private property. They can steal food from public off the table. And as long as they wag their tail, it's going to be forgiven and called, look how cute that is. There's so many advantages to returning to the zodiac. I'm calling it the zodiac because I want you to fall in love with the beast of burden too. Hathor is the movement out of the zodiac into the man. And you've given your teats, you've given your milk, you've given your cheese, you've given your meat itself, you've given your hoofs for glue, you've given your tongue as a delicacy. And if the cow's lucky, if the cow has enough calories, there we go. If the cow has enough calories, the cow's going to be questioning at the end of its life, what if there's something more? This is the excess calories. And I want you to know that those excess calories are important. They're in the air, and other cows smell it, and they're building consciousness too. They're building consciousness from all the failures. Just as the slave is teaching the patriarch how much better it is now from where they were then. Just as the hyena is teaching the giraffe, just as the giraffe is teaching the lion. These are crucial hermetic steps. And the fact that they have these kind of dead endings where you end up in a slaughterhouse, if you truly tried to compassionate a cow, if a cow wouldn't push out a fence, it's probably not even going to have a human reaction to when it's put down. Yes, they have reactions. They definitely do. Some are much smarter. We see this. Sometimes you'll see a video of a cow that broke out, and you're like, go, cow, go. And you're watching the hermetic ladder do exactly what it's meant to do. And the only reason why that cow is breaking out is because it gathered enough calories in the field. It heard enough of the law of the cannibals called the farmers that said, I love you, Bessie. You're such a beautiful cow. And sadly, a little girl hugged that cow too much. I say sadly because it's torture to be living in the zodiac and find you don't fit in. This sounds familiar, right? This is your path too. It's just a different level of zodiac. So, what's the answer? Do we create a society where we insist that everybody's a vegetarian and the cows should be left alone? Because if you do that, the cows die of neglect. They die because they're not being milked. You could say, well, that's just because of genetic. It could be, but it also could be that the Hathor's not being fulfilled, that the cow doesn't have the self worth anymore because you're not eating it. And so it ends up disappearing as a species. So, all of these things, if you trust nature, make absolute total sense. Like every one of them do, even the vegetarian. It's not a wrong move, it's a creative as fuck way to put yourself down. It matches right in line with drop your ego bra, with pride is the enemy, with all the other things that we do and say to each other. These are techniques we use to stay low to the mat because when you're on your belly, there's nowhere else to fall. All of these are creativity. All of these are expressing ourselves as creative individuals. And all you really have to do is trust. And like Yesenia said, just enjoy the show.
Thanks, James. Yeah, I wanted to just make a comment back to Yesenia when she was at the park and what you felt and I felt as well. It's an urge, right? It's this urge. You just have to do something. And that's very instinctual, the urgency of when you make those moments you make these calls that you say this thing that's like, oh my gosh, what did I just say? Or you say something and then you don't own it and you let it go. You have to own that the whole way through. You have to own your rollout. So when you start a motion, you got to follow through with it. It's if you waver, it weakens the whole posture. Okay, Deb, go right ahead.
Question. I have another question. Lori said earlier when she was talking, she said that sometimes when people are talking, she has a feeling she has a feeling in her body or something like that. Something to that effect. And so my question is, if I talk about archetypes and chakras, do you guys know what I am talking about, or do I need to come up with different ways of talking?
Yeah, it's great question. I'm so sorry about ego.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Well, I just want you to know that I really do think that's kind of the big. I think
Yeah.
that's the big 180 people have to do when they come in. I don't know if there's a lot of more 180s. There probably could be, but I think it's more the resistance people feel to trying to like a word that everyone else doesn't.
Right.
And so I think even I hope I probably don't show this, but I hope that when I do see someone using ego just to describe another point, that I try not to stop them because I just want to hear what you have to say. So even if the language doesn't fit, Deb, I don't want you to feel this is a very superficial example, but I think it's the first eye. I swear I'm not going to be like, you can't call it the third eye. It's the first. I mean, like I that's me having less calories to compassionate you. So I do think they're chakras. I joke about it all the time. I'm not sure the other word that you said. Sorry,
Archetypes.
Yeah,
I,
archetypes, all those
yeah,
things.
I'm studying symbolic language, so that is occurring to me a lot. When you were just talking about bringing yourself down. There's a saboteur archetype that everyone has.
Yeah.
And the thing about the chakra, Lori, is when you feel something, if somebody's talking and your tummy's uncomfortable, that's your solar plexus chakra. It's your what we're calling ego, right? Your sense of self.
That's what, yeah, that's how I like to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's another hand. The ego is another hand. It's a plasmatic finger. And it's something that you have that other people just don't have until you start to like and want the ego. And many of us still use our ego, but we just We've created, we just shame it in public. And then we're kind of lying about it because we're being humble. And the humility is just our mask that we use to like the very thing that we're supposed to like. So in my mind, the ego is still defined exactly as the ego. It's
Mhm.
just that I have a different romantic relationship with it
Right.
than other people do. And until you gain enough calories to defend, okay, here's a huge exercise, I swear.
Hmm.
Maybe not even necessarily for you, Deb, but just like for anybody, if you really want to try this out, like if you really want to try this out, I like the word ego because it's so constructive. Here's what I mean. The next time you're in public, so you're with your friends and you're at dinner, and someone says, well, he's got too much ego, it's an opportunity for you for the very first time to tell yourself that you are not going to shit on yourself anymore and that you have to utilize the witness of someone else to prove it. Your heart doesn't trust you anymore because you shit on yourself in front of others. The first time you defend your ego in front of someone else, the smells that come out of you are out of this world. You're going to stimulate a lot of backlash. And if you can hold yourself through that backlash 1, 2, 7, maybe 38 times, if you can do that, you're going to come out the other side with a sheen that has so much malamu. It grows with so much glow that you become golden and you lose all your friends because
I,
you lose your friends because you're in a different cannibal state. Notice you're still a cannibal, but you're in a different cannibal state. And the second you lose your friends, the right ones come. They come right away. It takes a while. It takes too long sometimes. But the reason why it takes too long because they're on their way from Michigan, but they smell halfway through, they get halfway there and they start to smell your doubt, then they just kind of stop and they're like, "Well, I don't know if they want me to come." And then they hear you do it again, then they're like, "I will come further." And I swear to you, if you have faith, it will be brutal the first time. It will be brutal the second time. It will be brutal the third time and you'll say, "This guy's nuts. I'm never listening to this shit again." And if you do it 4 times, 5 times, you'll start to notice that when you do it, people don't even question you anymore. I swear they don't even question you. I could say the exact same thing with the exact same tone as someone else who's just now starting to defend their ego, and they would be torn out alive, and I would not because the room smells me. They know I'm not fucking around, man. They know that if they're going to sit there and try and take down the ego in front of me, that they're fighting a formidable opponent on the mat, and they can't do it because they don't have ego. So they get mad, they sabotage, they start to try and take me down in other ways. But the problem is that I love myself too much. It just doesn't matter to me.
right.
And ultimately they lose. And ultimately you end up in a new frame, you're in a new universe now. And those people go away and you enter into this different thing. So I highly recommend it. And you're going to probably come in with a black eye and say, "What the fuck did you tell me to do that for?" I swear that all those things are true and that this is the vitriol that really, really makes you rise up to this next level, but only if you need to.
Well,
There's many.
excuse me. Go ahead. I
No, no, you
really
go ahead.
do like the way I really do like to say ego with because I don't know how to say this. All right, your seat of power is in your belly, and in ego that it makes sense to me that that's what that is because before, to me, that I was using a word that I was meant to describe the kind of software that society drops into our head and we see everything through that we see it through a big screen of I live in the United States, I live in Maine, the whole thing.
Yes, ego in Greek means I am. It's
Oh,
the living life force. This is why to me it's so obvious that we're just using this to shame ourselves.
right.
So je suis, I am. There's Jesus right there. Jesus had like the biggest ego in the world because no one had been able to top him yet. No one had been able to come up with something else. And he did that because he went through the crucifixion, he went through the Luciferian death and rebirth. And quite frankly, it just became impossible for anybody to cannibalize him because he recognized the value of their witness and just fell in love with it. And so they're not able to tear them apart. So the people that are eating off the energy of tearing someone apart are starving when they're in the room with Jesus. They keep trying to eat him, but he's giving them the wrong food. And this really just amalgamates it. It happens to you in real time, and people get threatened by that. It's actually, they're not threatened because you have an ego, believe it or not. This is a very obscure, minuscule point, but I just want to point it out. They're not actually mad because you're showing ego. They're mad because you changed. They're mad because they got used to you being in a certain pattern, and they feel threatened because now you're changing the rules. It's like that curmudgeony old man I always reference. People love the curmudgeony old man as long as he's always a curmudgeony old man. If he's consistently that way the whole time, they love him. They look forward to him coming into the cafe. It's when he shows up with flowers that they're like, "What the fuck is your problem, dude? Why are you doing this?" Because the change, they become less predictable. You leave your parasympathetic state into your sympathetic state. The same thing happens when you change your name in here. The same thing happens when someone walks in with a ski mask. You're changing from parasympathetic to sympathetic because people value who they are, and they have to be able to predict what you're going to do in the room. So as long as you can be consistent, you're going to be okay. If you want to change slowly, you're going to have to change slowly. You're going to have to slowly insert these. Well, here's the way to do it. Instead of, I think ego's good. Don't say that. I want you to
Well,
say
I don't
this.
need to, I don't need to put labels on it
Well,
anymore. But um, so no, continue.
if you want to defend your ego, but you don't want to do it in a righteous way on top of a
Right.
hill where everybody's watching you, another technique is just to simply say, I've been wondering if ego is really bad. Like, I was looking at the etymology and it says I am. And this is a brilliant way of regulating people. You're not actually being manipulative. You're actually slowly raising the room. So you're manipulating the fuck out of them. I'm sorry. You're slowly raising their posture without them knowing it. And eventually they're standing too tall and they're either going to keep it or they're going to fall. But that's another way of doing it. You're slowly easing yourself into it. But all these conversations, I swear, have nothing to do with other people. It's always the conversation with
Yeah.
yourself. Your heart hears you defend it for the very first time. The I am hears you defend it for the first time. And first thing it goes is, "What the fuck, man? I thought you hated me." That's what your heart says. "I thought you hated me. Why are you being nice to me now?" And the heart doesn't understand. You need to do this 37 times.
The other thing I think about Jesus is that when he came here, he opened heart chakras that people had no heart chakras before he came. So it goes along with what you just said there too.
Wow, that was just a beautiful conversation. I just want to point out that the word "go" is an ego. Just want to point that out, not stay. Go. Okay, Lauren, go ahead.
I just wanted to point something out that I've noticed. Things like witness, self-worth, accountability, someone demanding that you try. These skills have to be practiced to be developed, and that's what we're doing here. But I think that's another reason why a lot of people seek out mystery schools. They teach you this kind of self-worth. They make you accountable, teach you how to eat, how to clean, how to bathe, learn how to communicate, and things like that. We get that same sort of interaction here in this airship, and I love that, especially the accountability for what you've said. That's a really important sort of skill to have. And they also teach, from what I understand, that every failure, when viewed correctly, is a stepping stone towards success. It doesn't matter how many times you have to do something, as long as you are attempting it. And my dad gave me one piece of advice about this life. He says it's going to get trippy in the future, and I think that might be right now. I think that's what we're living now. But he said, sit back and enjoy the ride. So
You typed in the chat here, solar plexus is the second brain. That's beautiful. Do you want to expand on that? I'll just put you on the spot, Lauren.
well, it's latent in everyone, I believe. We don't know
that there's such a potential in the solar plexus, but it can be developed in every single person through concentrated will and breath work and acknowledging its presence as a vital energy source, listening to it. That's where your intuition tries to speak to you from. And it's a small voice, but you know, it'll get louder. You clean your temple and you listen. That's about it. Thanks.
That is great. We have come to the end of another Airship. Thank you all for being here. Really enjoyed this ride on Monday. I now remember the day. You can all unmute and say goodbye, and we'll see you next time, okay?
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Good night.
Bye, all.
For the ride.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Renee, for hosting. See you
Bye.
next time.
Bye.